but then allowing us to get into the conversation where we look at budgets and what the country actually does in terms of how money is then put aside for certain things and for certain processes. We're getting into that conversation this hour. We do know that it is the second Thursday of June that the budget will then be read, and the cabinet minister will come and tell you what the country plans to do for the next fiscal year that essentially starts on 1st of July. To help us out to look into that conversation and to say that really who are the winners and losers in this budget that will be read in a couple of days. We start off this conversation this hour, and the Member of Parliament for Keses constituency is CPA Julius Rutto, and he joins us this morning. Washima, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Welcome
nice
to this. Nice to meet you too, and welcome to the Situation Room. You're in the hot seat of the Situation Room, and of course we'll be talking hot.
Wow, is it hot? Burning?
Well, there's a lot that's
any
burning.
Fire extinguisher around me.
Yeah, we are applying safety standards in all things that we do. But that notwithstanding, of course, this is a hot topic, so we're going to be looking into this. So thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here also.
As we normally do, Dennis goes around the African continent every week. We land in a different African country. He'll tell you where we are this week,
yes.
And then we'd love for you to get to hear your interpretation of the proverb.
Today we are in Conakry. Conakry is capital of? Conakry. You're in Guinea.
Guinea.
Right?
Oh,
yeah, beautiful country. Where
don't ask details accountants. Just pick figures to them, and you're good to go with them.
Yeah, so you talk about diamonds, and you think about the country, gold as well, and oil reserves as well in the country. But the proverb that you get from them is, the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. How would you interpret it?
Well, I was speaking from a natural appreciation of that, is that the axe forgets because it can cut. Later, the effects are felt for long. So the trees will keep lamenting. The stumps will remain there, saying that please, one day, something was here. Yeah. But changes has happened. And of course, you understand the climatical effects comes around on distortion of the nature.
Yes.
So those who are doing it doesn't feel they enjoy doing it, but the positive effect of it is not fair.
Not fair.
Yes, probably that's my interpretation.
And your interpretation is always right because it is yours. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Yeah. So. The Budget Committee, of course, is very, very involved in this process. Whether it is from a deliberatory point of view after the numbers have been crunched. What's your overall view, first of all, Mr. Rutto, about this budget? We're looking at numbers, 4.82 trillion shillings, the highest so far. We're looking at a 1.1 trillion shilling that must come from borrowing in order to make the budget happen. We're looking at a KRA responsibility of almost 3 trillion shillings. And then, of course, revenue here and there that's going to make it happen. That's where 4 components of how this budget will be made up. But what are your thoughts from it so far in terms of what it looks like? Is it progressive? Is it economy facing? What are your thoughts?
Thank you. First of all, as I put across, I sit in a Committee of Finance and National Planning, which is a departmental committee concerning on looking at the revenue side of the budget we are discussing. Of course, there will be the other committee of supplies, as a committee on budget and appropriation, trying to look at the demand side. I look at the supply side of the budget. First of all, where we are now, we are in a situation I can call it I don't know that it was inevitable at the start of it, but where we are now is inevitable because we are more faced with the real issues, problems that are constant and fixed in terms of expenditures. In terms of personnel emolument, we've been having growing demand on personnel emolument. Of course, you understand how civil servants agitating for better pay, for better welfare. There's several signings of CPAs that have to be honored. Some of them were done for political reasons or to manage political situation, and they were procrastinated. But that time has come that has to be honored now. We're also speaking at the moment where we have obligations that have to be done, which is the law protects us first church, that we have to set aside 1.5 trillion to repay debt interest, not to retire the main principal amount, but debt interest, servicing the debt. Out of it, 980 has to go to domestic borrowing. Then that tells you the ratio of our local money are taken by government, not even by the business people. It's not running in the economy direct. And many other pressures that are coming around expenditure side that have to be addressed. We are going to election. IBC need to prepare. That's a huge pressure. I've seen in this budget estimates allocations gone to security has grown from almost 200 to 566 billion. The reason is given is that preparation for proper transition. I mean, in terms of election, they need to renew their equipment, to fight insecurity, increase welfare to the police, all those put together. Education, that is another issue that we've been discussing, that we are facing a lot of problem. Education is taking huge chunk of allocation to the tune of around over 700 billion. So all those put together speaks about the pressure that is underlining the expenditure side. Equally, we have a huge problem on the revenue. As I've told you, I sit in a committee of finance and national planning. We are now discussing the finance bill. I've just from Tana River, I was conducting a subgroup of a committee that we are going to seek the public view. And what members of public are saying, damn, we don't need additional tax.
Okay.
Business committee say, damn, please reconsider the proposals, especially on those VAT that have been driven to second schedule on exemption. They feel like this one will increase the cost of doing business because the products will definitely be very expensive. Please reconsider retaining them at zero rate at first schedule. On the other side, tax expenditure keeps growing. At the same time, we are putting pressure on the expenditure. There's what we call tax expenditure. Tax expenditure is exemptions, zero rates. It's growing over almost 700 billion. It means these are monies that have to be foregone at the expense of service delivery, or money have to be set aside, especially zero rated, to reimburse the business, the traders for that purpose. Growing on this side, trying to shrink the revenue, but at the same time, you want to grow expenditure. As we talk right now, the mediation committee is underway between the Senate and the National Assembly. Why? The Senate are asking, please, we need more to count the governments more than it had been proposed at around 420. They need around 450 or so. The negotiation is there. Then it means either, again, you need to grow from 4.8 upwards, or you need to look at areas of stagnating expenditure on the side of the national government, either not honoring the pending bills or completely stopping some developments, because recurrent are fixed. The recurrent expenditure we are doing, especially P, are more or less fixed. For operations, again, are more or less fixed, because without money to support running of the government and development, nothing will happen. So generally, to my side, I think we have a problem. Again, we want to push in to Kenya Revenue to collect. Right now, we are this budget is proposing what we call local revenue. That's called the tax revenue and appropriation in it, to around 3.7 trillion. Last year, tax revenue was under collected by around 100 and something billion. Out of 2.9 on tax revenue, I think they collected around 2.8, 2.7 something. So we don't know the realistics on this one. KRA are saying, give us more tools. Part of the proposals are very, to me, in the finance bill, that the KRA is asking for more powers, like the issue of agency notice, the issue of accessing data. They're arguing that the world has changed. Business is changing because of digital, but they don't have enough tools to track some revenues, because the payment system has changed from traditional banking way, where you would go for bank statement. Now people have gone to e-payment, and they want to have more ways to that. But the owners have saying, no, please, what about my data? How are we going to protect my business secrets? Don't allow that. So we are in that mix and pool. But expenditure side say, please, we need more. Every sector, we need more. Every department, we need more. Counties, we need more. Revenues, don't increase taxes. The donkey is tired. So that balancing now is where I'm saying reality is far from where we are. We either have to hit our humble pie, accept to pay tax, or stop for some reason, some given line of expenditure, because sustainability is becoming a problem.
You've mentioned that you belong on the supply side of the budget, right?
Yes.
And you talk about the supply end of it. That would mean then what goes into that kitty, right?
Yes.
So one then asks the question, with the budget the way it is and funding the same and the wastage that we see in government pretty much, whether it's national government or the county governments. Yes. That is one area that then your committee would be looking into to see how then to seal all the loopholes so that the supply part of it has enough to fund the projects or to make the day-to-day running of or pretty much to fund the budget. But now question is, what has the community found? What proposals have you come with to deal or address the wastage that we continue to see?
Well, we've been having over time the discussion on wastages, but at times you try to look at in terms of the budget. Rarely do you even sometimes see them. Because if you look at some recurrent expenditure side where you'd say it is flexible, it's variable, there are some things you can forego for some time because they are not immediately. But if you look at departmental budgets on recurrent, very lean. A department is given 20 million, 50 million on specific line, other than travelers which have been subjected to austerity measures or organization by organization. It's not clear. But Auditor General tried and control our budget to bring out, to pick on some elements where probably Parliament might come in, because they will always be coming in on the oversight side. Yeah. Sometimes during demand side you may not see, because people are asking, please, what you have given us is not enough. We have this program, we have not done. Where we have a problem is during implementation. And that's where now audit will come and travel, and that's why some cases have been followed over time. But it takes time because audit report comes in 2 years, 3 years after expenditure. So what we are going to do is just to advise on policy on what is way forward. But during time of asking, the way you would sit in those committees when PSS are coming in, the way they're going to lament and tell you, please, these things, we are going to stop this one, we are not going to work on this one, we have this donor money that we need this money to patch with. But when it comes to implementation, sometimes you don't see them implementing. When you try to touch on them, sometimes, again, there is the aspect of under collection. So even on some of the recurrent expenditure end up not being executed because of exchequer availability.
On what recurrent expenditure is this that we're talking about? Please give us examples of the recurrent expenditure that suffers as a result of lack of implementation.
One, those enablers on recurrent expenditure, of course, is maybe to do with mobility, that is transport, that is fuel for motor vehicles, probably trainings. At times, most of what the organization needs is capacity building, where they would say, fine, for this program to run well, we need to capacity build this, or we need to move traveling and subsistence officers from one point to the other. Of course, in office, I've seen nowadays people have scaled down the issue of tea, flowers, because there was a time as departmental on customer service, said, look at this, we must be customer oriented in our service delivery. I've seen them trying to not everywhere, because I don't have ability to be at any place at any given time, but I've seen those are the areas that even when you're looking at critically, when you have a moment to evaluate as a department, you're able to pin out, to pick out on those and sample that this one money can be moved here. Majorly those ones. But otherwise I've fixed it on terms of health, support on share, because remember share is scaled into three, is structured into three. We have the share, the shift that is for contributory. We have the accident and emergency, that is purely exchequer. And then we have the primary health care, that's exchequer. So all these areas are not touchable because I have to be resourced more. Education is recurrent in behavior, as it is clustered in behavior is recurrent, capitation is recurrent, but they are primary and fixed. So at times they tend to serve when there is under collection, and the exchequer is small, they tend to rationale. So when you rationale, you affect the service delivery at the schools.
So money that is collected by the Kenya Revenue Authority, we see that payments for education, like you talk about capitation, comes directly from that?
Yes, capitation is purely exchequer.
It's purely exchequer money. Exchequer. And this exchequer money in this instant is purely from collectibles by KRA.
That is it.
Okay.
And when there is pressure or there's under collection, the Cabinet Secretary or the PS National Treasury has to rationalize
why that happens. All right.
Yes.
Now, an adjunct question to that would be then, isn't it from the same exchequer that debt is paid?
The same thing.
The same thing. And debt is the first charge on the consolidated account. For money that comes in, the first charge is debt.
You are very right.
All right.
And don't forget money to devolution. The law said money to counties have to be transferred.
Okay.
Fully by the end of the financial year.
Okay.
They have to be transferred.
So, when there's under collection by KRA, that means that there will be things that are charges on the consolidated account from the exchequer,
yes,
then that will also suffer.
Yes.
So are we saying that when we, for example, in those two levels of SHA, whereby it's purely exchequer and there's not enough, which we have been told by the Cabinet Secretary has happened often,
yes,
and when capitation does not reach schools on time or ever in its totality, we're also seeing that this is as a result of under collection. So in your opinion, wouldn't it make sense to and these are developmental issues. Education is developmental. Health is developmental. It's not about keeping the lights on. It's to spur people on from one place to the next. Don't you think that in policy making then, that it's about time that you started looking beyond collection from KRA for these developmental issues?
Studying the economies of first world countries, like America, for example, higher education is paid fully by the consumers.
Yes.
What happens is the economy is doing well to the extent that for citizens, governments have to waive special issues to do with healthcare, social issues. But major education is not a sole function of the state.
Yes.
Here in Kenya, higher education, basic education, we want to take to be the burden of the government. Established economies, basic education is free.
Yes.
Fully government.
Truly free.
Truly free.
Yes.
But when you grow to higher education, the burden changes to the parent. Here, we want to absorb everything to the government. At a moment, we are facing constraints. What you are saying is that the truth is this. Though we want to speak here, it should be free. But it gets to a point like a mother. You want to cook. You have guests coming in. Children are there, for example. The flour, let me use where I come from because we eat ugali. What do you do when the flour is little and you want to cook enough? Do you cook ugali and give a piece, or do you convert it into porridge and have it and everyone have a taste of it? That's where we are. If you look at our development vote right now, it's around less than a trillion. What do we want to borrow from this budget? 1.1. So what are we borrowing for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Development. So nothing for development will get from exchequer. The law says first charge. Whether you have to do whatever you want to do, first charge is repayment of debt. And the repayment of debt is not even retiring the principal. We have to play around and joke around with it. But we must pay the interest. Whether you have 10,000, you have a trillion here, and they need to pay 500, and it is due, pay 500. What you remain with it now, share among the pressure you have. So which is, if it's an end man, salaries are here. Your security officers need to be paid. You say it fine. Has to remain safe. Pay salaries of security. There's a pressure on teachers. NAT would want to go in industrial action. And you know how messy it can mess a country. You see, those are decisions you have to make. I mean, it's not in law. You must sit down and say, what I have, what do I do? Pay salaries all round. Counties are here. Of course, what necessarily I've done for counties, they will look at it, okay, I gave county A, B, C, D this much, looking at because they can be able to see the accounts at CBK. This one have sufficient balances, they can still manage their demand. Don't give them this man. Sacrifice for this one. Now, capitation is here. How much do we have? Give each and every school from the day that we have. School A needs 200 million. But because we don't give them 70 million, let them go and struggle on how they are going to plan. In case we get in future, we will do it.
But then, from where one sits, fact that now we have limited collections, that then makes it difficult for us to fund every other important aspect of our social being as the people of Kenya. One looks at the supply aspect of it again. And here now is where we find that investors are finding it difficult every other time to set up business because of high taxation regime that we do have. So from the committee that you sit then, you are not seeing more investors coming in. You're not seeing more manufacturing opportunities coming to Kenya because of taxation that would then supply and help us fund the budget. So from where it is you sit, how then do you approach the budget making process to make it easier and affordable for investors, for manufacturing to take place, so that when we want to fund education, we have individuals who have set up business, KRA is collecting enough, so that at the end of the day we say everything we are able to do it, though not to optimum capacity, but you're doing something about it. How are you then addressing that from the supply aspect of it on matters to do with taxation?
Thank you. First of all, it's good to note and to mention this. A stable economy is a productive economy. Mm-hmm. Productive in terms of manufacturing.
Yes.
In agriculture, we are doing fairly good because of subsidies that have been put in place, but only fairly good to produce food for subsistence, not for value. I mean, you rarely see
so the food that's being produced is being consumed
because even we still have some deficit that we must cover with importation, like issues to do with edible oil.
Yes.
We are spending almost 500 billion annually on tax expenditure to bring down the cost of edible oils, because we don't grow the crude oil, the palm oil that we can produce. We used to do sunflower, but over time it went down, so we don't sustain our demand. So it's trade-off. Yes, we now have sufficient maize, not 100%, but that's not it. Mm-hmm. What can stabilize economy is manufacturing.
Yes,
because that's employment. Mm-hmm. But right now, there are a lot of other factors. Well, I've seen like in this year finance bill, because of oil discovered in Turkana, to encourage, there are some incentives that have been given concession, like now lowering of income, corporate tax from that 7.5% to normal 30%, like local, to encourage investing in steel production here. There is forgiveness of exemption of someone who trades to around 2 billion, exempt on some special rates of VAT, something like that. But you see, we're still far away from realizing the effects of it, because there's other problems of energy, supply of energy. We don't have capacity to produce enough energy for industrial purposes. Our energy is very expensive.
Yeah.
Yes, very expensive. And we just produce, we are told, at least 3,000 megawatts. For industrialization, we need above 10,000 megawatts. So without this, Kenya is a trading economy. So whether we strain how much, we are just a trading economy. What you're going to facilitate is more tax exemption to avail supplies.
But it does seem very apparent that there's something that can be done about it. But there is a lack of desire.
Those are issues now that we need to look at as a society.
You see, because it doesn't sound like something that Kenya ought to be drowning under at the moment, especially when the first thing that you led with was that you have conversations with permanent secretaries, for example, who the implementation metric seems to be an issue. And if we have the implementation of some of these things, then these problems that you talk about then would be a thing of the past, because the word that I've written down now 3 times is sustainability of some of these issues. The only thing that you can do to achieve sustainability is actually implement it in the first place.
And now let's get there.
Why is that a problem?
Let's get there. And that's why when you look at the fiscal policy of Kenya, is where we have a problem. Because even implementation, you require investment. You require investment. I mean, you cannot just implement by a word of mouth. Parade all the PSS here, and all of them will lament to you. Should we have enough resources? These are programs I've laid as a focus, as our strategic plan. This is our vision as a department. This is our vision as a ministry. But we are stagnating because we are not enabled to move.
Why? Please allow me to give you an example. When Moses Kuria was the CS for this long ministry of investment, trade and industry, the permanent secretary at the time even came here and told us how they were setting up mechanisms whereby people could come in and invest a particular amount of money. And what that meant is that they would then put the money into the economy, where you start to actually have manufacturing hubs, and then Kenya would not start to operate in a surplus. The framework for those things had been established, well, at least according to our understanding. But then to move between the framework and implementation seems to be a problem. And for those of you who make the law, we really want to try and understand, because it seems as though Kenya continually steps on the gas but does not move. That's one example. A second example, which we shared again yesterday, and I'm just going to take a little bit of time to do that. Kenya currently has a standing agreement with the UAE to provide livestock in form of goat and sheep to the UAE. And that is why that whole hullabaloo about vaccinations came into place, because they want to make sure that the animals are of a standard. Not one goat or sheep has left the shores of Kenya to go to Dubai yet. It's been 2.5 years since that agreement that would have actually brought in some good revenue, not just to the exchequer who is looking for money to do this recurrent expenditure, but also to farmers who then have sustainability. There's that word again. But there's something that stops it from happening. And I think that's where lawmakers come in to say, this thing that's stopping this thing from happening, let's identify and actually make it work. I'm still stuck at why that's so difficult.
Speaking from an example you've given, of course, I'm aware not much in terms of count, but of course I know some few traders have been doing that through Lamu Port. We've seen animals, but not frequent, not in a manner that it can be counted to have impact direct. But I know devolution also has a role for this purpose, because livestock is a devolved function. I was in Tana River on public participation on Saturday, and this is what members of public were asking. You see, for us, this is our farming. We're farming animals. This is what we are doing. We've been promised to have a holding kind of yard
at the counties, holding yard in counties.
We were promised this way, and nothing has happened. I think I agree with you. We still have a problem on being specific in terms of prioritization. Though we have this resource training, but we still have a problem in prioritization, because it's about everyone. Like as I was saying, if we had 2 weeks ago, the committee overturned it. Every PS is coming to Lamin and say, I need, but a common priority, both for national and county, and nothing stops. That's why developmental plan, strategic plan, the CIDPs are to be aligned together through the State Department of National Planning and the National Treasury, so that as a country we are in a sustainable approach, goals that is aligned. But when we still have a problem that I have to hone when it comes to prioritization, we seem to be choosing other things over other things. Despite we have all these problems in terms of resource allocation, we seem not to be identifying, let's say, as all areas how to be coming together and say, what is our common problem? Where can we put resources? And nothing stops neighboring counties on contributing on the same, so that they are able to have a common result that can favor all of it. We still have that problem.
Is the outcome seen? Because if everybody sees, we still have a problem looking at the outcome.
Especially on devolution, we have a huge problem.
Because here's the budget that's being read on Thursday,
yes.
and everybody's got their knickers in a twist already, asking questions. Where are we going to get this money from? But through the year, through the remaining 11 months of the year, opportunities present themselves all the time to get that money that everybody's stressing about today, that will empower your businessmen, will empower your farmers, empower all of these people, set up protectionist policies. But then we start screaming at the end of May,
we don't have money.
I don't understand. I'm trying to come to terms with, why wouldn't you just get it done? PS Mweke sat here and told us about these holding cells, these holding yards that you talk about. There are certain counties, everybody knows them already, that deal with livestock. And that's why the ministry is there. The ministry is there to tie all of these things together. If county A and B cannot agree, the ministry now comes in and brings all of you 17 counties that deal in livestock, and let's say, guys, this is what we can do. Let's set it up. Let's get it moving. Even that is undoable.
We still have a problem. I agree, because of the sense of individualism and conflict of interest. We must own it. This is where we are today. Part of the problems we are bearing now was because of those conflictions. Because Kenya has not started today. Kenya started from 1963. That's more than almost 60 years or so. And there is no time we've been told Kenya was shut down because of lack of budget. Budgets have been met. But up to date, you cannot see results. Even if you see how skewed infrastructure have been done. If you want to align that and look at the outcome of it, you will only see people want resources on their side without a commitment on the turn on it. We were joking the other day, our minds, and say, these ASAL countries, especially arid areas, over time, they've been, of course, asking about equalization. Constitution has captured equalization fund for them. They've been receiving support of well-wishers through CBOs over time. They've been receiving better allocations after 2013, the formula that is used to share horizontal resources among counties. They've been receiving more preference in terms of higher shareable revenue as compared to those they call fairly rich in terms of poverty distribution. But up to now, if today we go to Northeastern and say, fine, let's look at even health facilities, what quality of health facilities can we pick from there for the purpose of the people, despite all these processes? If we go to Turkana today in terms of supply of water, what intervention have they done to convert that area into productive because of resources? Still, we have a problem as Kenya. Even devolution has brought us more trouble than even what it was intended to do because of that. Other than being an employer bureau, because the only thing you can see in counties is they will tell you our P is 50% of our fiscal arrangement. So if you see a county or any entity that pays over 50% of whatever they are collecting on salaries, the question is then what service are these people giving? You cannot relate together. So in terms of misuse or lack of proper organization, I want to agree to all of us that we're still far from where we should be. In fact, our economy we can describe our economy to be resilient in terms of even contribution to the current challenges. But we seem to be growing demand at the expense of seeing the results. I think I agree where we are at a miss. We are at a miss on that.
For an economy to grow, there has to be proper supply of funds pretty much in it. People should be able to buy and sell, you know. And with that, then the question that one would look forward to is that the budget or funding the same has become very difficult because of, say, pending bills, for example, because there are those Kenyans who've supplied services to the government have not been paid, and that has stopped circulation of money into the economy. The reason why you find many today are saying, it's very difficult for me to do, say, business with government because I am not sure I will be paid, you know. And with that, then the taxes or the revenue that KRA is looking forward to having is denied. We're talking about expanding the tax base, right? But even while looking at expanding the tax base, the concentration for a very long time has been on those who are already being taxed. So from where it is you sit, what must KRA do for it to expand the tax base so that everybody else is in the tax bracket, so that the few who are being taxed do not feel as if they're carrying the heavy burden for the country?
Tax payment, to me, I want to bring it from after engaging on these few years, being in the Committee of Finance. I think it calls for more on the personality of people, the character of our people. Most Kenyans doesn't want, given an opportunity, they either want to reduce or not to pay at all. But sometimes listening to them during normal discussion, some are justified. Why should I pay when I'm not seeing the service? I mean, why should I pay when I'm not seeing? When I go to hospital and I'm told, in our health facilities in counties, go and buy drugs
across the board,
go and buy gloves, fairly. Then you see a governor going for a small function, like another governor has been going around the county taking a dummy check of the same value that we are issuing bursary of this much. All the number of words just to campaign around it with entourage of motor vehicles, which are not using hair, they are using oil, and using fuel. You might be spending over 3 million to around 4 million, and then you go to nearby facility and you're told there are no trucks. Tell me, why should that person be pushed to pay? So, to be honest, as again I said, despite all the challenges, we have a very resilient economy and hardworking people.
Do you therefore
should we match service delivery? We will have our own. We will have what it takes, and this thing will be self-compensating. Well, KRA are trying their best whenever we engage them, because that's a department we keep looking at our committee, and they of course have seen governance changes a little bit to try to farm up supervision and have results. I know we have now former CS for trade. He has been brought in. I expect transformation and result based. It seems to be an entrepreneur oriented person. I've seen entities which were government run as parastatals that now the law has been amended and in the GOE. We think they are going to grow, transform, and be able to contribute more than the tax in terms of competing in the business and give more dividends to the government. All those put together, but still the bottom line comes, relate the service delivery with what people are giving. If we're able to do that one, I'm sure none of the citizens will refuse when you know your child will go to school and be educated without any problem. When you know that you have your own card and you can go to facility like what Shah is trying to bring about it, if this thing will be effective fully, and you go to facility and be given services, because it's a question of character, it's a question of attitude. What we are fighting for now, we are fighting attitude concept more than the real will. That is where we are. We have a challenge. We also have people, and I think yes, we've been looking so much the spread on the national aspect, which sometimes diminishes, because if you are told how much has gone to tourism today, and you try to tell what the return have you received from tourism, you may not specifically pick. If you are told how much has gone to education, don't forget in that education there are many departments. There are how many PSS? We have almost 4 or 5 PSS. Like the one on research, you will be told today what do you have time to see what has happened? Yes, you look at the block figure and say a lot of money have gone there. But remember they will structure and share among them. But if we have both level of government being committed to their promise for the people holistically, without self-conflicted. And I think that's where I don't know whether we still what kind of other laws do we still need to put in place, because we have craft laws. I think Kenya, we have a lot of craft laws. DCI, we have what we call conflict of interest law, we have anti-money laundering, we have all this. But still, rampant corruption is still persistent. And corruption nowadays may not be directly picking, but even on the aspect of negotiation, the cost of service delivery is shifting up. And if you look at it, that the line seems to be affected. But out of it, some hidden areas that you may not see physically, because when you're given a PQ, how will you pick that is in this PQ? You're not expert. That to build this house, it costs this much. How will you really pick and survey and say, no, this brick doesn't cost this one? I mean, if with that motive and intention and deliberate intention to increase the cost to benefit an individual, and also a society also has to play a little bit, because we have a society that seems to be praising craft people than the people who are committed to deliver services. Because if a politician or any other person want to be worshipped because you have money, and people are rallying women in the village, you want to clap for this person, he has money, will give us money, and the peanut money that cannot change your household. I think we have a lot as a society also to change our mindset on the way we view, because once we transform our mindset, then we would have the right people to be in place. We also have a constitution which you want to appreciate, it has brought about democracy. But I think it's also at high time we audit and look at the cost of implementing this constitution, because we have a lot of agencies with duplicated roles, and it would cost every agency will say, give us money. If you look at conflict, the other day we are hiring police officers. We have a police commission, a national police commission. We have a police service with the inspector general. They conflicted. The other one says, look at, this is my mandate to employ. The other one says, no, you don't have capacity to employ. Immediately there was a leeway from the court pronunciation. Without even preparation, we saw people being employed that we cannot even, we still have to take time to know how many people are employed. So with all these attitudes, honestly, as a country, I think we need to come to a amendment. I don't know whether we'll agree to arrive and evaluate, first of all, the enabling of this. How are we going to structure? Because again, we have to go back to the parent law that is going to fix on some of the problems, eliminate some of it, and focus on service. Yes.
The only way an economy will grow is one of the things that you talked about previously, which is on manufacturing and then being able to either export and sell and then operate on a surplus. That's the only way it's going to develop. It is not going to develop on these collections from KRA. KRA money is going to keep the lights on and the water flowing. That's what's going to happen.
It's like just ensuring that there's some food, there's some money for food. I've just walked in when you were talking about planning, about health insurance. You know, many households cannot make those discussions here that you need to have a health insurance plan for your future, how you're going to manage. We don't have power to go there. What we struggle is, Mama, how much do we have for Sukuma?
But the problem,
as long as you're able to make 500 shillings for that
that's
for
enough.
that night, that person is happy. There are many people who are happy working here. They don't care whether they're going to Portsmouth. They are very happy. As long as they know in our pocket, we have food. That is our economy.
But the job of government, whereas it's not to create jobs, is to create an environment where the thing that you speak of, aspiration to do better, then can actually thrive. Government has no business borrowing from local banks. That is for the business community to borrow and build the economy. The money that you talk about, Kenya doesn't have a revenue problem. This money can be found. Kenya has an expenditure problem. Kenya has a debt problem. Kenya has a corruption problem. You mentioned corruption. Within these hollowed walls, or wherever they are people aware of how corruption thrives in the circles in which it does?
Well, we say, where I come from, though a thief may have some skills, but the investigator is more skilled. Mm-hmm. Corruption is evolving. Mm-hmm. It's evolving. It's not static. You cannot divine a route today to protect it and say, I will get on of it. It is very smart. You change the ways, it changes the ways. And it's becoming a consistent. That's why I'm speaking about character. Mm-hmm. And it draws back to even what is happening in our schools now. Yes, we are looking on what's happening in government. We are not looking at what's happening down at the level of preparation. This banning of schools, children, what do they get courage to ban? If you look at that CCTV, we are going to go by that. Where does that child get that courage to do it, knowing that my colleagues are here and knowing that the outcome of this will be this way? We have a society that we must begin to evaluate where we are going. Because already, as much as we want to deal with the problem up there, we are brewing another problem. Where will those children be going tomorrow? I saw the other day Ministry of Education PS saying, now it has gone to a level with all these challenges we're having, then sit down and negotiate with these young children. What are you negotiating with them? They are young. But now they will tell you, if you don't agree with what you're saying, we're going to ban school. You as a principal, are you willing to be taken through the process? I beat it, the principal of Utumishi girls, the stress she's going through now, Well, for this administration, let me give it credit where it deserves. People sometimes were wondering, why is this administration pushing housing levy? I don't know whether you are aware how much the sector of construction is doing better in terms of KNBS research that has given, in terms of employment down there.
That's because you have affordable housing projects all over the country. So you're going to hire somebody, that's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That is the only way out that has tried to sustain. It's not absolute because you're not going to employ everyone. After building, what next? You understand? What I don't know is that the supply chain on that. Yeah. Because another issue is the supply chain on that. But how long are we going to remain in construction? This administration came in when the debt level was around 11 trillion. It has gone to around 12 trillion.
12.8.
12.8. The loss we have, which is not only our own loss, standard-wise, first charge, repayment of debt. We want to pay 1.5 trillion. This is what is in this budget now. Last year it was around 1.3. Of course, 1.1, 1.2, and the rest you see on the CFS. We must pay this money. We must get money for counties. We must pay salaries. What Kenya are estimating to be giving us? 2.something. What is needed, just even without development, without even bending bills. I will tell you the story about bending bills. That's why the issue of securitization came in. You understand why securitization came in on fuel levy? Was because of the budget could not sustain. Now the government had to come with a policy of saying, let's use the money we are collecting from consumption on fuel to repay our contractors. At least now our contractors have gone back. When they go back, the economy again will go round because you have to pay labor, you have to pay supplies, you have to pay maintenance on that road, all those put together. But it has shock champ where the problem is. But what is the sustainability? Already you have a problem of oil. And you see people who are going on demonstration, reduce the price of oil. Reduce the price of food, what are you going to do? Remove the taxes in it. The taxes on fuel are taxes for specific function on road maintenance, road constructions. Now we touch that because we have a pressure on managing our tanks. We have a pressure on managing our mobility. Where we are right now, that's what I'm saying, these are hereditary problems that we must all have to agree and make appreciation on the small bit by bit. It will not change. It will not be a one-off tap. It will not happen. Same policies you've given out about the Ministry of Investment, State Department of Investment during Moses Kuria. Most of you remember there was a discussion on CAIBs.
Yes.
County integrated, yes, which was going to create environment. But again, implementation is becoming stagnated. Government, President had promised 250 million for every county. It has been informed, they have been released. But if you look at completion of the project,
for what?
It was a partnership between national and counties.
Okay.
National will give 250, counties will contribute 250. So CAIBs were estimated to cost around 500 million.
Yes.
Counties are still struggling
To raise their 250 million.
to raise their 250. So we are in the fourth year after pronunciation.
And when was this 250 released from national government?
We were informed, I think, last year. Of course, you see, it will be stagnated based on your commitment.
And what are they doing with it? Can you trace? Because this is the thing. The traceability aspect comes to play here.
We've seen some
because if
counties-
national government gives 250 million to each county and you've held on to it for a year, then we start asking in 2026, okay, by the way, how that project, how far have you gone?
I think what they are funding, based on your contribution and the works. One is you commit, one is you raise certificates. It is being given on that. But what I'm saying is that the execution of it is not visible. Yep. So we still have that challenge because those ones were meant to create local manufacturing and encourage, of course, EBZ areas, the settlement of special economic zones, like one in Eldoret, to allow foreign investors to come in and create employment. But still, on the other side, the problem of supply of power.
I mean, we will talk about how we need to supply the economy and all that. There is the expenditure part of it, and with that, then there is call for accountability on how funds are being spent in the country. Because we've talked about wastage and corruption that is there, but that does not follow the accountability that needs to be there. Because one says, where money is, follow the function. And if you follow the function, it will take you back to how that money was spent.
Yes.
Why are we not seeing accountability on individuals who have spent money, public funds, in the wrong way, and nobody, heads are not rolling?
I want to appreciate this National Assembly of 13 Parliament, because as we came in, the audit committees were picking auditors' report for around 5 years down the line in terms of delay. I want to appreciate Auditor General, the Nancy Katungu. When she came in, there were audits were in arrears of almost 3 years to 4 years. But as we speak now, we receive current, up-to-date audit reports to the committees that are relevant. And they've been looking at this. I don't know what's happening at counties. I've also seen Senate are now discussing most current financial years of our audits and recommendations. I think some of the recommendations that have gone to EACC and DPP, these are also other institutions that they need to help us. Sometimes, say the truth, someone, upon seeing the kind of punishment that has been executed on a given mistake or on a given case that can be executed to the latter without cases being thrown out in court, it will deter. The only way to deter this one is when we see cases that have been followed to conclusion. We still have a problem on that side up to now. So even people are developing immune. Those who implement it are developing immune because after all, I hope that someone says, as long as they find you have something that you are going to manage the situation, as long as that attitude is there, Parliament can make a lot of laws. That's what I said. You can legislate everything, but you cannot legislate the character.
Well, this is some of the things that we're looking at this morning, then to be able to talk about what happens budget 2026, 2027. There's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done.
The crying that is being done is unfortunately because a lot of implementation has not been carried out.
But I would be praying.
And we have to take on that regardless.
I would be praying that as a community, as HASIA, even in the media, we are able to scrutinize our budgets very well so that also we move from a regime of a blame regime to a regime of action-oriented picking out, like now we were discussing and saying, okay, fine, in this department there is this money meant for this. Do we need this now?
Yes.
I think if we grow to that level, if we're able to elevate our discussion to that level, we would be more proactive than being reactive. I think we have a society that is purely reactive, and most of this reactivity is twinkled with political persuasion. Sometimes we lose out because you also make those who are in administration, just because of bashing, develop again, as I call it, immune, and be able to and be adamant and sustain and continue what they were doing. But if we have a society that is far and relieved of political persuasion, and we look at things objectively, we are going to help ourselves. Otherwise, when we throw it and tie it to politicians, I've never seen politics that has won.
Yeah.
Because politics is a contest, and who's going to suffer?
Indeed.
We are discussing issues which are very legit here, but it remains to be stories of where? Over here. For today, we were in SpiceFM, we've discussed this one.
Yeah.
When are we going to be very objective and say, fine, we have a government of the day. We hold you responsible, give our services.
Implement.
This, do this and this.
Exactly.
And even as we check and critique objectively, not taking to politicians those who want to come to power without even agree agenda of what they are going to do better than this.
Indeed.
And it is us to elect the same people just because they don't want this regime and they want to see, we seem them to be pointing finger at this, we clap for them, then give them when they have no agenda. When they get there, they again stagnate and they think that it's our time to also make.
Okay.
Member of Parliament for Kasese is CPA Julius Rutto. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Definitely for things that we need to look at. Indeed. That's what they say. Time flies when you're having fun. Let's pick this up, because there are some fundamental issues that we still need to insist on objectively.
Maybe
thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Allow me to say 1 minute.
Our time runs quickly.
Time is running. Okay.
Yes,
thank you. I want to appreciate on this one. Still call on parents to guide their children well. Call on the society to be concerned on how we are raising our children.
Indeed, and we need to also call on government to address the issue.
Government to address the issues,
Absolutely.
Safety on our schools.
Yeah.
Let's all stakeholders do their part. Otherwise, where we are going, we are plunging our nation into crisis.
Thank you very much
Thank you
for being here this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.